Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of the trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. That's right, as we embark upon Marvel Phase 5 in the multiverse saga, the big question is...
Do you guys just put the word quantum in front of everything?
Yes, we do! So let us wave goodbye to the yellow brick road of the sometimes stinky Phase 4 and figure out if Kang's Ring City is connected to the 10 rings. That's right, we're going crazy here. Let's break it down frame by frame, and let us begin. Over sunny San Francisco, my current city, no place like home, let me tell ya, we're Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, in which Elton John and his lyricist Bernie Taupin wrote as a semi-autobiographical longing from Elton to retire back to his hometown, before he concludes at the end of the song that his future lies beyond the Yellow Brick Road. Because, sorry Dorothy, you really can't go home again. Such is the case for Scott in this movie. He may feel tempted to return to his home before the time he lost during the blip, but his future truly lies ahead. But really, I don't think this song is even about Scott. The way the Thor Love and Thunder trailer used Sweet Child of Mine as a secret message from Gore the God Butcher and his daughter, I think this song is really coming from the point of view of this movie's villain, Kang the Conqueror. But is he really gonna be the villain? Because remember Thanos in Infinity War, he was not really the villain of that movie, he was really the protagonist of it. And I think in this movie, Marvel's next big bad, Kang the Conqueror, will be the surprise protagonist. This is going to be an origin story for Kang, and how this Kang the Conqueror is someone way worse than the variant we met as He Who Remains in Loki. Kang wants something. Something was taken from him, and it is buried in his past. But while Thanos retired to a home farm, Kang's future is beyond the Yellow Brick Road, beyond his current surrealist quantum Oz. Kang will say goodbye to the Yellow Brick Road, while the rest of us will be stuck in it. If you think about it, The Wizard of Oz has truly been a recurring influence in recent Marvel titles. WandaVision had a good witch versus a wicked witch who rides a bike and snatches Totos, and Sam Raimi's Oz the Great and Powerful reference on the movie theater marquee. Loki introduced the Kang variant, He Who Remains, hidden behind a literal Emerald City of the Void. He was a man behind the curtain who uses smoke and mirrors. Raimi's Multiverse of Madness cast America Chavez as a Dorothy figure, running down a brick road, all to fight a wicked witch Wanda with no help from the Oz-like Illuminati. And then most recently, Werewolf by Night ended with its heroine attaining her ruby inheritance as her world shifts to Technicolor set to Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So this isn't just like film school comparative analysis here, folks. Marvel Studios is making it clear, their Wizard of Oz is Kang the Conqueror. Scott returns to his old job from the 2015 film at Baskin-Robbins.
Baskin-Robbins always finds out.
To receive the award of Employee of the Century, with his boss Dale returning. Scott's name tag of Jack is still on his uniform and in his photo. This is the alias Scott used to avoid his criminal record coming up, but the real Easter egg here is that Paul Rudd picked the name Jack as a shout out to his son, who's named Jack. We love this content because it's exciting and interesting, not like boring old water. We know we should be drinking water, but sometimes its complete lack of flavor makes us turn to less healthy liquid options. That doesn't have to be the case, because Air Up is a new way to enjoy water and flavor without adding a bunch of sugar. Your nose knows, and Air Up knows your nose. Let's unbox this baby. Air Up was nice enough to send me one, so let's take a look. Bam! Here it comes. So you see this? This is a flavor ring. You just choose what you want your water to taste like. I wanted it to taste like lime, so I filled this bottle with ordinary water. I'm gonna press on the flavor ring. Flavor ring is on and activated, so now I'm gonna take a sip. Whoa, it tastes like lime, but it's because I'm smelling it. Whoa, this is really cool. So Air Up is able to do this without adding anything to the water itself, because the people who make it know how something tastes is deeply connected to how it smells. So Air Up's flavor ring uses your sense of smell instead of sugar or weird chemical additives in order to make the healthiest thing you can drink the tastiest thing you can drink too. I gotta try this again. It's like a magic trick. To try Air Up yourself, just click the link in the description below. It's crazy. I'm definitely gonna get more of this lime as soon as I am done with this video. Scott's suit has been upgraded so that the Pym vial is now installed on his chest rather than in his gloves, maybe to avoid that accidental button pushing. I mean, that was never really practical. This way, it might be more of a neural link where he can just kind of think into his suit. I mean, his brainwaves are connected to the ants. Can his brainwaves be connected to his suit? A kid with an Ant-Man backpack high five Scott, and Scott and Hope attend a red carpet event, the banner reading Humanitarian Global Service Awards from the Anthropology Society of the USA. We know from D23 footage that Scott has a book and an audiobook called Look Out for the Little Guy, and we know Kamala Khan listened to Scott's podcast, Big Hero Little Me, so that she and pretty much all of society could learn what happened in Endgame. So really, Scott is probably the biggest celebrity among the Avengers right now, especially since society was memory wiped from knowing who Peter Parker is. They still know who Spider-Man is, they just don't know who Peter Parker is. Which is why the cafe odor says...
Thank you, Spider-Man.
Yes, this actor is Ruben Rabassa from Tim Robinson's I Think You Should Leave.
Any other ideas?
Stinky.
What?
The movie screenwriter Jeff Loveness tweeted, "The age of men is over, the time of Ant has come," and yes, Ant-Man takes place in the I Think You Should Leave verse. Rabassa also played a balloon vendor, Mr. Cardazzo in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., in the episode where Lady Sif loses her memory. This shop is called Bridge Donuts, and it has San Francisco-themed donuts, the Embarcadero, Summer of Love, The Hate, Presidio, Pier 39, Golden Gate, and the Candlestick. That's the ballpark where the Giants play. And to all my friends who ask me, what's it like living in San Fran? Little insider tip for you. No one calls it San Fran here. We call it San Francisco or we call it SF. It's one of the many snobby things we do. You know, like paying $3.50 for a donut. Let's move on.
Turn it off. Now.
We see Hank Pym's house, which is an actual house located not far from where I live on Buena Vista Avenue at Java Street. It's blue in real life, but they painted it red for production because that's the color of Ant-Man's suit. Ant-Man the Wasp ended with this house being transported to a Quantum Realm beach, but here, I guess it's been moved back. Scott's daughter is Cassie Lang, now played by Catherine Newton, and she shows Scott and Hope and Hank and Janet a new piece of technology saying, "People still need help, Dad. That's why we made this." Who is we? In the versions of this trailer shown at Comic-Con and D23, Cassie is showing this device to the 4 adults for the first time, something she began working on during the blip to try to rescue Scott while he was still stuck in the quantum realm. Cassie's engineering partner could be Riri Williams, or maybe Peter Parker, maybe Ava Starr Ghost from the second film returning in the MCU in Thunderbolts, or someone else in the Young Avengers with Cassie Lang, like time-displaced Kang variant Iron Lad, young Nathaniel Richards. Now this device is bronze and silver colored, looking like a vintage stereo. On the table around it is a pair of headphones, a world's best dad mug. Shouldn't Thanos get that? Just kidding. Also a few books about ants, Dr. Eleanor's Common Ants of California and Journey to the Ants by Bert Holdobler and Edward O. Wilson. Page turners, these are. Now this device's cap emits this tiny orb of light, the color blue. Making me wonder if it could have been Iron Lad Nathaniel who helped her build this without either of these kids realizing that Kang knew that his young variant's 31st century technological know-how would lead the Ant-Man family down into his quantum realm trap. Yes, really this blue orb is the key to it all. I'm thinking it is another kind of quantum realm energy source. In fact, I think it's the same kind of glowing orb that Kang loads into his chamber like a battery and also seems to be powering all the ships of his air fleet. This orb blasts all of them back and then sucks everything inward. The table the device is on spins and gets sucked in, but the device itself remains floating. I think the fact that this table and everything in it got sucked down in the quantum realm could end up being important, like they might end up using that mug or those books for something down there. The whole family gets sucked in, and notice they get sucked in 2 distinct groups. We got Hope, Hank, and Janet in one group, and then separately Scott and Cassie. So these will be our 2 camps that we cut back and forth between. They all shrink down into this orb, and I like how their bodies make the Pymtech shrinking lines that have always been these movies' way of showing the shrinking, so it looks like the size change progression in the comics. I love it. Let's move on.
Where are we?
Okay, the music in this trailer transposes Goodbye Yellow Brick Road in a few different ways throughout it and all these different techno-synthy sounds, but here, over the studio logo, it sounds like it's a church organ. Scott and Cassie look out over this fractured landscape with floating rock formations. Columns of lava or some other orange energy flow downward. It's almost like the quantum realm could be feeding on energy from the surface realm. In the 2017 Avengers Unleashed Kang War run of the comics that gave us our perhaps best take on Kang, we learned that Kang Prime sits at the end of time, living on resources his variants have set up for him across the time stream. So maybe this orange energy that's flowing downward is time or temporal energy that Kang in the quantum realm is leeching from the surface realm. Now I'm using the word realm a lot here. Marvel Studios has been pretty loose in the way they've described universes, realities, dimensions, timelines, realms, and planes. Sometimes it seems like all these terms are just used interchangeably, but I think more and more in Phase 4 titles, the studio has started to suggest that there are really 2 broad categories of things. We got what we're gonna call universes, which are really the numbered alternate Earths of the multiverse with variant versions of each of us and our architecture kind of looking similar but tweaked in different ways. So you got Universe 616, Universe 838, the universe of Tobey Maguire Peter Parker, the universe of Andrew Garfield Peter Parker, all the different universes we saw in What If. But then in the other category, you got what we're gonna call realms. These are the more surrealist dreamscapes that look less like our world and have this implied ethereal spiritual connection. The ancestral plane, the Duat, Valhalla, the dark dimension, hell, the Nord dimension, the shadow realm, and yes, I think the quantum realm. Now, maybe the TVA, but we still don't really know where the TVA is. Could be somewhere in the quantum realm. Also, I know in this trailer, Janet calls this all a secret universe beneath ours, but I think think that's just to help broader audiences understand that it's not another planet. I think the realms that I mentioned share a border with all universes. Realms are buffer zones that all universes can slip in and out of, kind of like an ocean between universe islands. So basically, Universe 616 and Universe 838 both have waypoints in and out of the same quantum realm. Now look at that purple sky above Scott and Cassie, these cyclone portals there. I think these are time vortexes. I think the ones used by the Avengers to tap into the quantum realm in Endgame to conduct the time heist, and the ones warned about by Janet.
And don't get sucked into a time vortex. We won't be able to save you.
Yeah, she called it a time vortex, like a cyclone, and I think that's what these look like. Basically, I think the quantum realm is porous, with portals through time and waypoints accessed via subatomic shrinking that have made it kind of a base lint tray, collecting misfits from throughout history and from throughout the multiverse. We meet a few of these misfits in the next part. A band of warriors confront Scott and Cassie. They're led by this android with a glowing cylindrical headpiece. The armor looks a bit celestial to me, but the headpiece reminds me of Miss Minutes and other orange-colored TVA tech. Like this thing, or at least this part of it, could be a Kang creation that turned against him. The android's group has 4 or 5 subtypes in it. We see some similarly dressed dark hooded figures with firearms. We see some women with staffs. We see some red-robed figures with glowing eyes. And then we get these little dudes with glowing colored fishbowl heads. Looks like we're going to be meeting several parts of quantum realm society, and I think this group are the outcasts who fight against Kang's dominance in the city. Hope, Hank, and Janet walk through this jungle-like zone. I thought that bright wavy shape in the background was the sky horizon, but it's actually a super bright undulating vine lighting this jungle like an LED snake light. Again, maybe this is a pipeline of temporal energy flowing throughout the quantum realm, feeding into the city. In front of Janet, I like there's a few jellyfish creatures floating up off the branches. Now here, Elton singing, "I should have stayed on the farm, I should have listened to my old man." And we actually see a farm here in the quantum realm. Lanterns floating above a field of crops where some slug-like creatures with stalks graze, and then this female hooded figure sees something crash landing in the quantum realm overhead. I think this hooded figure is Janet in her early years in the quantum realm, and she's seeing a vessel crash landing, a vessel that is piloted by Kang. I think we are seeing his initial arrival in the quantum realm here. This could be the moment these two meet. Janet could have survived her early years by subsistence farming, and then when shit goes down between her and Kang, the empire and cities that Kang builds could wipe out all the farms like this and develop new industrial means of resource production, like draining temporal energy from the surface realm. Janet takes Hank and Hope riding on the back of this pink manta ray type creature. They're passing through an area with these spheres, some glowing from within with blue light, others broken and empty. Maybe these are like eggs or pods. Later they do pass what appear to be some harvesters with tubes feeding into backpack tanks with blue liquid. Maybe these guys are tasked with draining the pods. I don't know, a lot of weird shit's going on in the quantum realm. Hope asks her mother, "What are you so afraid of?" And Janet says, "There's something I never told you." And I think that something is that she knew Nathaniel Richards, Kang, and she could have stopped him earlier, but instead she just trapped him down in the quantum realm by taking something from him. And we see the hand of Kang placing a glowing orb into this chamber with crystals that ignite upon contact. This device later appears plugged into his golden platform. Maybe it's a fuel source that activates some of his technology. And we see the glorious city of the quantum realm, possibly the interior of the city that we saw in the background of the quantum realm in Ant-Man the Wasp, which may end up being Chronopolis, Kang's city in the comics, or maybe this movie will just call this place Quantumania. There is a large central conical pyramid with floating rings that assemble into place. These rings do resemble at least the 10 rings, especially the way they light up blue on the sides. Ms. Marvel suggested there was a connection between the 10 rings and the bangles that appear to be based on either the Kree negabands or Quasar's quantum bands. And Ms. Marvel surprised all of us by being a show weirdly about time travel, and specifically giving us clarification on the rules of time travel in the MCU, how time travel is actually predestined, all scripted by Kang. And when I asked Iman Vellani if Kang might have planned for Kamala Khan to go back in time to save her own grandmother, her answer was pretty interesting. Do you think Kang or He Who Remains might have planned specifically for Kamala to go back in time?
Yeah. Okay, so the inscription on the bangle used to be "What is destined for you will come for you." We did change it after that, but I like to use that as a way of, you know, justifying how Kamala goes back in time and why that was meant to happen.
So maybe all this technology, quantum technology, Kree technology, the 10 rings is connected? I don't know if I'm willing to go that far, but I do think that the use of rings and circles is a kind of cultural statement about Kang's empire. Like the first thing we saw from the Ant-Man set was a production chair that used a specific Quantumania alphabet that seemed also based on circles and loops. Like the alien heptapods in the movie Arrival, the use of circles in their visual language was really an expression of the way they see time, not linearly, but as a circle. No beginning, no end, just looping back on itself endlessly. And I think that's how Kang sees time as well, part of a predestined loop. This is essentially how Loki depicted the sacred timeline, a tight coil of loops, history circling back on itself, an infinite circle, an infinite loops. We see how Kang has assembled a vast army, legions of soldiers, either with blue helmets or blue face protection, which might be what Kang is actually wearing when he's blue-faced. These soldiers could be the Pythians, Kang's foot soldiers in the comics. And we see two types of aircraft, smaller ships with rings on the back housing a fuel orb, and then larger ships with that fuel orb contained behind the cockpit. There's also a turret on the right with surface-to-air missiles. And behind all of this, notice the cityscape in the distant background curves upward. This also seems to be the case in the background behind Scott, Cassie, and Hope later at the end of the trailer. This whole city might be contained on another ring structure, like the Glavis ring world that we saw in the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, who knows? Maybe this whole city is on one of the 10 rings. That would be ridiculous. Please don't quote me on that. Let's move on. Now, there's a quick shot of Scott here in a setting with color tones unlike anywhere else in the trailer. Teal and magenta. These colors and the soft contrast reminds me a lot of Mike Del Mundo's art in the Avengers Unleashed Kang War comics that I mentioned before from 2017. We know the studio is interested in this run because it was from this comic's depiction of Pharaoh Rama-Tut that Moon Knight Episode 3 pulled its Kang Easter egg for the Egyptian thug's jacket. I didn't make that up, folks. A producer on that show who's a friend of our channel confirmed that to us. Now, I did summarize this whole comic storyline in my video, How to Kill Kang. I highly recommend you watch it because I really do think that particular run of the comics is what's going to inspire Kang in Quantumania and Kang in Avengers Kang Dynasty. Here we see Kang standing on his golden platform as rings orbit him. Maybe pieces that, when they fully assemble, make a perfect sphere that completes Kang's time travel vessel. Now, one of the warships I pointed out earlier flies toward another region of the quantum realm, glowing red with broken rings smashed into each other. This might be where Scott is standing in the shot I just mentioned, maybe a first attempt by Kang to build what would become his empire. But in the footage shown exclusively at Comic-Con and D23, there was a very brief shot of MODOK with a robot face with red eyes that burn this same color red. We don't see MODOK anywhere in this trailer, and I think it's because Marvel doesn't want to give the internet a high quality image to pause on and scrutinize to see that kind of looks like, spoiler warning here, because this isn't confirmed, and if you don't want to know it, skip to this time. I think we're gonna see that MODOK kind of looks like Corey Stoll, who is rumored to return as Darren Cross mutated into a form of MODOK. Another shot shows Janet turning a dusty circular stone wall. This might be where she hid the thing that she stole from Kang. Janet, Hope, and Hank walk into a bar with a four-armed organic mechanized hybrid creature. Other patrons include this dude who looks like he is in the process of unraveling. Actually, more thoughts on this guy in a bit. And we see Bill Murray's character. Murray has described his character as a bad guy, and in the D23 footage, he greeted Janet as if they once knew each other. I really love the theory that he could be an elder of the universe, but I don't know. Elders are really beings of the cosmos, of outer space, not of different realms or dimensions. He's reportedly playing a character named Krylar, who's an obscure microverse resident in the Hulk comics. I don't know if that's confirmed. Ultimately, I just think that Murray's going to be playing an elite member of Quantumania society, a kind of puppet political figure who leads the equivalent of Kang's Vichy government. Another shot shows Giant Scott surrounded by warships after causing some structural damage to the city. We see him and Hope in her yellow Wasp suit staring them down. In this movie, they clearly made Hope's suit a bit more yellow to make her distinct among the trio of herself alongside Scott, who's mostly red, and Cassie, who's mostly purple. We see Janet in this glowing blue cavern as this arachnid demogorgon thing pounces on her. And then Hope and Scott and Janet and Hank are surrounded by these cracks in reality, like pink lightning distorting the space around them. Scott looks like he just got his ass kicked. He's more beaten up here than anywhere else in the trailer. So whatever they just destroyed might have some kind of load-bearing effect on this city or this realm. We hear Kang telling Scott, I can get you home and give you more time if you help me. So this is Kang's deal that he's offering him, to restore Scott's life before Infinity War and Endgame so that Scott can get those 5 years with Cassie back. Scott runs around in a huge red dome filled with hundreds of other Ant-Men. If you look closely, there's a giant Scott beside him unraveling in a ribbon, and the Scott closest to us, if you look closely for a few frames, actually splits into two. What is going on here? I think Kang has trapped Scott in this kind of chamber with other variants from across the multiverse or just projections of them. The giant Scott, I believe, is in the process of being pruned, of being erased, and this is what TVA pruning looks like in the quantum realm. You unravel out of existence, similar to what Wanda did to Reed Richards and what Thanos with the Reality Stone nearly did to Mantis. That monster that Wanda sent after America and Defender Strange in the Gap Junction, maybe that was a nearly unraveled creature that just resisted its pruning. And that dude at the bar, maybe someone Kang was torturing and started to unravel but then thought, never mind. Like the sacred timeline, we are all tightly coiled bundles of temporal energy made up of the infinite past inflection points throughout history. So to erase any one of us from history, the master weaver controlling everything must untangle the knot of us. And it's a freaking mess. Kind of like when Silver Sylvie stabbed He Who Remains, the coil of the sacred timeline unraveled into a mess as well. I think Scott, like bug-themed Avenger Spider-Man, is gonna discover a shared sense among his variants. For Spider-Man, that shared sense is arachnofrequency, aka spider sense, and the web of life and destiny that connects all of them. I think for Ant-Man, it's gonna be his multiversal ant colony, and the way he can sync with his ants is how he'll be able to sync with his variants. Scott and Cassie flee, and Kang floats down toward us on this blue disc, looking a lot like Magneto in X2. His face is blue here as it is in the comics. Actually, it looks exactly like he does in the comics. Crazy how Marvel Studios keeps pulling that off. But I think the blue is just gonna be his facial shielding emitting from his helmet, which is a pretty smart practical way to maintain Kang's blue look while not forcing Jonathan Majors to go around blue in every scene. And the triple shot of the Ant family. The fact that Cassie already has this purple suit on her suggests that she might have already been operating as a resizing superhero before the events of the movie. In the Comic-Con footage, Scott had to bail her out of jail, so she's been doing some Avengering. On to the final clip.
So, what's it gonna be? Ant-Man.
Okay, as Kang strolls toward us, you can actually see his reflection in that polished floor. His face is blue here, so at the start of the scene, his mask is up, but he lowers it as he talks to Scott. Kang has some unique scarring on his face, on either sides of his cheeks and his forehead. Remember, He Who Remains' face was unscarred, so this presents a unique backstory for the Conqueror variant. Kang in the comics just has these lines on his face, but now they are presented as scar tissue. So he may have got them while he was slaughtering Avengers, because D23 footage I saw goes further. Scott says, "You made a big mistake, I'm an Avenger." Kang responds, "You're an Avenger? Have I killed you before?" Scott nervously asks, "What?" And Kang says, "They all blend together after a while. Who are you?" And Kang says, "Just a man who has lost a lot of time, like you. But we can help each other with that. Someone stole something from me, and you're the only one who can steal it back. So, do we have a deal?" And Cassie behind Kang shakes her head, says, "No, don't take the deal." And Kang uses telekinesis to slam Scott against the wall, telling Scott that he is out of his league. So what was stolen from Kang? Well, my favorite theory is that it is not a what, it's a who. And stolen from Kang was his love in the comics, Ravonna Renslayer. Renslayer could have been taken from him by his rival, He Who Remains, when He Who Remains used Goliath to defeat all the other Kangs in that past multiversal war and set up the TVA. But I'm not so sure about that theory now, because Janet's history with Kang just makes me wonder if it could be a piece of technology for his vessel that would allow Kang to escape the quantum realm. But maybe that technology is a what and a who. Ah! Miss Minutes, could she be Kang's AI navigator? Whatever was stolen from Kang, I think the truth either way is that Janet's dark secret is that she trapped a Time Lord in a realm with gaping time vortexes, giving that Time Lord some, if not full, ability to affect and benefit from time travel. She, in effect, created the worst Kang. Folks, there is a trend I have found with theorizing for Marvel films. The more CGI the setting, the more bonkers the theories can get. So between now and February, things are gonna get nuts. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at EA Voss. Follow New Rockstars, subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching, bye.